Okay, well, hello, Year 10. This is Mr. Govan. I'm coming to you from the science lab at the moment. I'm sitting in here completely alone. It's a bit lonely. You guys are evidently not here. You guys are in your bedrooms or in your studies somewhere watching this video online, just so you can learn everything that you need to know about the accuracy of measuring instruments, because that's what our class is on for today. So when we're talking about the accuracy of measuring instruments, what we are obviously going to need to be thinking about is what are these measuring instruments that we're going to use to make our measurements of various quantities. So the measuring instrument that immediately comes to my mind would be something like a 30 centimetre ruler. So a 30 centimetre ruler, obviously you use that to measure the length of certain objects, measure distances, and it's especially good at measuring those distances for objects which are between 0 and 30 centimetres long, because the ruler is 30 centimetres long. Another example of a measuring instrument might be something like a measuring cup in your kitchen, or something like a thermometer. So the measuring cup would measure a quantity like volume, whereas the thermometer would measure a quantity like temperature. So we have all kinds of measuring instruments. What's important to us is how do we determine how accurate they are? So let's flip on to the next slide. We've got a question on the left-hand side. It says, what is the smallest measurement I can make with a ruler? So let's think about that. Most 30 centimetre rulers have the 30 divisions for all of their centimetres, and then they also have 10 divisions in between each one of those centimetres. So those are smaller little divisions, and each one of those is a millimetre. So for example, on a ruler, I could measure something that was 1, 2, 3 millimetres long, and I would be able to take that measurement based on how many of those little divisions the object was. However, if something was less than a millimetre, let's say it was a micrometre, I would have no way of measuring it with a 30 centimetre ruler. I need to use a measuring instrument that has those micrometre divisions on its scale. So that's something like a precise caliper, which is what's also in the question there. Or I thought of another example of a road sign. So let's say you're driving on the freeway and there's one of those signs that tells you every 5 kilometres how close you're getting to the nearest city. So for example, if you were driving towards Sydney on the M1, it would tell you Sydney 45 kilometres away. And then 5 kilometres later, it would say Sydney 40 kilometres away. But in between those two signs, you have no idea whether you're 41, 42, 43.679 kilometres away, because the smallest unit of measurement for those road signs is going to be 5 kilometres. So let's have a look at these two questions here. This says, for each of the following, write down the smallest unit of measurement. So if I've measured something to be 89.8 centimetres, that means that my measuring instrument can measure to 0.8 of a centimetre. The measurement's given to 1 decimal place, which means the smallest unit of measurement is going to be this tenths place. So I could measure something using this instrument. Because it has the smallest unit of measurement that goes to the tenths place, I could measure something that was 0.1 centimetres or 1 millimetre. So that's our smallest unit of measurement for question A. For question B, we now have 56.85 metres. So now we have 2 decimal places, and therefore the smallest unit of measurement is going to come from this last decimal place. The smallest unit of measurement now is going to be 0.01 metres or 1 centimetre. So that's the way we work out the smallest unit of measurement. It's simply the last decimal place or the smallest division on our measurement instrument. Now we want to talk about limits of accuracy. So we have a picture here of one of those 30 centimetre rulers we were talking about. It's cut off a bit. And if I was to measure something, let's say I measured something right about here, and we can see that that measurement is going to be something like 6.3 centimetres. And so for a 30 centimetre ruler, we already know that our limit of reading is 0.1 centimetres. Sorry, not our limit of reading. Our smallest possible unit of measurement is going to be 0.1 centimetres, which is also 1 millimetre. Now, how do I know that this red mark here is exactly on 6.3 centimetres? You can see I've drawn it slightly off, and someone else might say, actually, I think, Mr. Govan, that looks closer to 6.4 centimetres. So what we need to talk about now is something called limits of accuracy. So if I see that a millimetre ruler is closest to 6.3, I can say with certainty that the measurement must be somewhere between 6.25 and 6.35. And the reason is because that 0.05 is halfway between 6.3 and 6.4. And on the other side, it's halfway between 6.2 and 6.3. And so our limit of accuracy for this case is going to be 0.05 centimetres. And we get that by the limit of reading here, 0.1, divided by 2. So 0.1 divided by 2 gives us our 0.05 centimetres, and that's our limit of accuracy. So our limit of accuracy is always going to be half of the smallest unit of measurement. Now that you guys know how to complete questions on limits of accuracy and smallest units of measurement, you guys can complete exercise 2B, questions 1, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 10. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'm thinking that I may set up a live Zoom meeting so that you guys can ask your questions live during this class period, but we'll see how we go with that. If I'm not there live, I'm always there by email. So enjoy.